Hello, welcome back to Learn Economy. Today we are continuing with our discussion on Introductory Microeconomics, the NCRT. This is a chapter discussion of Theory of Consumer Behavior, which is a chapter 2, and this is a part 5 of our discussion. So let's get started. So we were considering the case of budget line, and we told that the equation for this is P1x1 plus P2x2 is equal to M. And what is P1? This is the price of commodity 1, and x1 is the quantity purchased of the commodity 1. P2 is the price of commodity 2, and x2 is the quantity purchased of commodity 2. So whenever you go for P1 x1, it shows your expenditure on the first commodity. And what is P2x2? This shows expenditure on second commodity. And M is your total expenditure. Isn't it? So here in this diagram, you measure the first commodity along the x-axis. First commodity is representing here as banana. You measure the second commodity along the y-axis, which you consider here as mangoes. Okay, so the different points on the budget line. These are the different points on the budget line. Each of this point would be showing you a bundle which costing the consumer the entire budget. Okay. So in this case, you are just assuming a situation where the consumer wants to have an additional banana. What if a consumer would like to have one more banana or one more commodity x1? If that is the case, this is possible only if the consumer gives up some amount of mangoes. One more banana is brought by reducing some mangoes. Okay, but how many mangoes does the consumer have to give up in order to get an extra unit of banana? You say that you need to reduce some mangoes to get an additional banana, but how many mangoes are required to be given up to get an additional banana? This is something that would depend upon the prices of the two commodities. And what are the prices? P1 and P2. P1 means price of banana and P2 means price of mango. Let's see more about it. So here we are considering that the price of banana is P1. So this is P1. So in this case, the consumer needs to reduce his or her expenditure on mangoes by P1 amount. So expenditure on mangoes will be reduced by P1. So this is the case if the consumer wants more banana. If consumer wants more banana. Why this kind of a situation is coming? Because the consumer is facing some something called a budget constraint. Okay. Now, with P1, which is the price of banana, the consumer is able to buy something called P1 by P2 quantity of mangoes. You have to consider the price ratio. The price ratio means the price of banana divided by the price of mango. So if the consumer wants to get an extra banana when spending all money which he or she has with him or her, then the consumer will have to give up P1 by P2 quantity of mangoes. This is the quantity of mangoes the consumer needs to give up to get an additional banana. Okay. So here what we could see is that the consumer is substituting one commodity with the other commodity. So here he is substituting bananas for mango. So that means instead of having mango, the consumer is trying to get more banana. So this happens at the rate of P1 by P2, the price ratio. And you know that the slope of budget line, this is something that takes into consideration the rate at which the consumer is going for the substitution of banana for mangoes. So here we are on the assumption that the consumer spends his or her entire budget or entire money or entire income. So whatever. Okay. So how can we derive the slope of budget line? That is what we are going to see from here onwards. As we have taken mangoes is measured along the y-axis and banana measured along x-axis. Here the slope of budget line is something that takes into consideration the change in mangoes which are required per unit of change in banana while you are on the same budget line. Okay, so here we are taken 2 points. Point 1, let's consider it as A, and point 2, so we can consider it as B. 2 points are taken, point A and point B. Okay, so here in point A you have 2 points x1 and x2. x1 shows the quantity consumed of commodity 1, x2 shows the quantity consumed of commodity 2. And point B, we can have x1 plus delta x1 delta x1 means what? Change in x1. So x1 plus delta x1, that is the first point, and second point is x2 plus delta x2. So at point A, I'll be writing it. You have a combination of x1 and x2. But when we move to point B, you will be having x1 plus delta x1. This is one point. One case. This is a case with commodity 1, and for the second commodity you have a situation where x2 plus delta x2. Okay, so that is what is shown. And here this change till here, what you have is called delta x2 and here it is called delta x1. This is delta x1. So that means earlier we have went for an equation p1 x1 plus p2 x2 is equal to n. That was the case. And regarding the second situation, we have to consider p1 into, instead of x1 you write it as x1 plus delta x1, and here you write p2 as it is given in equation 2.4. Then instead of x2 you write x2 plus delta x2, and that is equal to your m. Now you have to subtract the equation 2.4 from 2.5. So you get, so this is equation 2.5, this is 2.5. So you subtract 2.4 from 2.5, 2.4 from 2.5. So that is, you go for p1 x1 plus delta x1 plus p2 x2 plus delta x2 minus p1 x1 plus p2 x2. This is what you do. So when you do this, what you get is called this, that is p1 so x1 and x1 gets cancelled, so you will be getting delta x1 plus p2. Again you could see that x2 and x2 get cancelled, p2 x2 get cancelled, here p2 x2 get cancelled. You have p2 delta x2. So hope you got it, how you take this. So here I'll write the next step for this so that you will be able to understand. So you just open the bracket, so you will be able to have this, you expand this equation by having p1 x1 plus p1 delta x1 plus p2 x2 plus p2 delta x2. So from this you are subtracting p1 x1 minus into plus will become minus, minus p2 x2. So that will becomes p1 x1 and plus p1 x1 and minus p1 x1, this will be getting cancelled. Then you have p1 delta x1, you write it as here, this you write here. Then p2 x2 minus p2 x2 gets cancelled, and plus you write it here, p2 delta x2, p2 delta x2. So this is how you derive it. Okay, so you go for rearranging now. When you rearrange, what you take is, you take all the delta part in one side and you go for the p parts in the next side. So here it is multiplication, here you take delta x2 divided by delta x2 divided by delta x1. Okay, I'll write it here. delta x2 divided by delta x1, which would be something like minus P1. Why minus P1? You are taking P1 to the other side. Minus P1 by P2. This is how you derive it. Okay. Now, by telling that, we are moving on to the changes in the budget set. So here we have to consider the different set or the different bundles that a consumer is able to purchase. As I have told you, this depends upon the prices of the two commodity. And what are prices? P1 and P2. And also it depends upon the income of the consumer Y. Okay, so whenever there is a change in any of these, it will be influencing your purchase. So when the price of either of the commodities, whether P1 or P2, whether any of these changes or whether there is a change in your income level, the available bundle will also be changing. So here I am giving you a hypothetical example. You just have to suppose that the consumer is having a change in his income. So his income has changed from M to M dash. But here you think that P1 and P2, these are constant. There is no change. These are unchanged. Okay, so we just assume that from M, the consumer moved to M dash. Okay, so with the new income, the consumer is now able to consume a bundle which would be P1 X1 plus P2 X2. This is less than or equal to M dash. Let's see more. So in this case, what we have seen that the budget line equation has changed. Earlier we were having a budget line equation where P1 X1 plus P2 X2 is equal to M. But now we told that from M we move to M dash. Now we move to M dash. For the very same reason, the new equation is P1 X1 plus P2 X2 is equal to M dash. Okay, so from this, by using this second equation, you can write the equation, rewrite the equation for X2. So here you can write it as X2 is equal to M dash divided by P2, because here you are having multiplication, so you take division, minus P1 by P2 X1. Okay. So here the slope of the budget line is something same as the slope of the budget line that was there prior to the change in the income of the consumer. Okay, but when you look at the vertical intercept, this might be changing after the change in income. Let's see how it happens. So now we know that the consumer's new income, this is more than earlier income. His new budget is more than the earlier one. So the vertical as well as horizontal intercept will be increasing. So this will make the budget line to shift parallel outward. There is a shift in the budget line parallel to the old budget line. The new budget line would be parallel to the old budget line. That is what new budget line is parallel to the old budget line. Okay, so this happens as a result of increase in the income of the consumer, and for the very same reason the consumer is now able to buy more commodities, more of the two commodities whenever there is no change in the market price. So this is the situation if M dash is greater than M. You have to consider the other situation as well. What if your M dash is less than M? Here both the intercepts would be decreasing. Again you will be having a parallel shift of budget line. And now how does it shift? It will be shifting inward. Okay, this is something that happens when the income comes down. So you have to reduce your consumption of both the commodities. So I'll be showing you the two situations here. Here you could see that your M dash, in the first situation your M dash is lesser than M. So whenever your M dash is lesser than M, your new budget line will be something that will be shifting inward to the old budget line. Again it is a parallel shift that is happening. Parallel shift. Okay, so in the panel A here you can see that an increase, you can see a situation of reduction in your income. Your income has come down, and this is what made your budget line to shift inward. Shifted inward. There's a leftward shift in your budget line that happened. And in the second figure you could see that your new budget is greater than your old budget. That means your income has increased. So this made the budget to shift outward. Here your budget line shifted outward. Okay, again it is a parallel shift that happens. Now you can suppose a situation where the price of banana changing from, this is another instance. So we have considered a change in income. What will happen whenever there is a change in income, that we have considered that part. Now we are moving on to the price change. So we are assuming that the price of banana has changed from P1 to P1 dash. Earlier the price was P1, now it is P1 dash. Okay, now you assume that whenever this change happens, you assume that income is constant. There is no change in the income of the consumer. So whenever the consumer faces this new price, the consumer can afford to buy bundles like P1, X1. So it is P1 dash now, P1 dash X1 plus P2 X2, because the price of X2 is, the price of commodity 2 is not changing. And this is something which is less than or equal to your M. So here you can find your value for X2. The commodity X2 would be equal to M divided by P2 minus P1 dash, the new price of commodity 1 or X1, by P2 into X1. Okay, so here the vertical intercept of the budget line would be the same, but the slope of the budget line changes. Here the slope of budget line changes. So here also you can have two situations. Either your P1 dash is greater than P1. If this is the case, you could see that slope of Bezier line increases. Slope of Bezier line increases. So it would be becoming steeper. So here you can see the same thing. If the price of banana falls, in the panel A you can see that one instance, in the panel B you can see another situation. So here the panel A shows that the price of banana is increasing. Okay, the price of banana increasing, that is P1 dash is greater than P1. This is the first situation. In this case, what happens is that the Bezier line will be shifting. Earlier Bezier line was here in this axis you are having a point m by P1, but now the new point is m by P1 dash. So this happens as a result of P1 dash greater than P1, and here you could see that the Bezier line becomes steeper. And in the second case you could see that your P1 dash is lesser than P1. So here what happens is that you are reducing your consumption of banana because the price has increased. Law of demand applications. Demand for banana, and that is why it came like this. From M by P1 you move to M by P1 dash. As a result of increase in the price of banana, you have reduced its consumption. Now in this case what happens? Your Bezier line is shifting to outward. So the price of banana came down, isn't it? Price of banana came down. That means you increase the consumption of banana. Consumption of banana. Okay. So the figure shows a change in the budget set when price of one commodity changes. One good changes. Here you consider the price of other commodity, that is P2, remaining the same, and also you think that the income of the consumer remaining the same. Okay. So a change in the price of mangoes when price of bananas and income from an unchanged will be having similar effect on the consumer's consumption. So that's all about today. You can like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Also, you can be a part of my Telegram channel and Telegram group to discuss your doubts. I'll be providing the link of the very same in the description box. Also, you can download the Learn Economy app. For that also I'll be providing the link in the description box. Thank you for watching, and you can consider this channel for liking, sharing and subscribing.